Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Oh, it sounds so weird right now because on the one hand, my left ear is unblocked, and on the other, my right ear is completely blocked up. So it's kind of weird hearing myself from one perspective and another. That's not why you called. There are a number of things I need to discuss. Some of these, frankly, bring my piss to a boil, such as that of what's happened with Tommy Robinson, where he's recently had his appeal rejected. A man who shouldn't even be in jail because what he committed was a civil offence at best, and at worst, he committed no crime at all, as the Americans had already put out the silence documentary in the public domain before Tommy ever did. But Keir the traitor Starmer has never let the truth get in the way. So what makes us think he's going to stop now? For those who aren't clued up on Tommy Robinson was sent to jail, or more effectively sentenced to solitary confinement rather than jail, for 18 months for daring to post a video that exposes Jamal Higazi for not being the innocent schoolboy that the mainstream media tried to play out that he was. Well, in their eyes anyway. Of course, Jamal Higazi was about as innocent as a murderer with a smoking gun in his hand. But do you think that stopped them from spinning the yarn and making a narrative about white boy bad and Syrian refugee good? Of course it didn't. Secret recordings as well basically called out the councils as well for trying to tell people to not talk about the Jamal Higazi case by effectively gagging them with non-disclosure agreements. But of course this didn't fit the narrative of the, at the time, Conservative government. So what did they do? They locked him up. Keir the traitor Starmer may not be responsible for the original shit that happened surrounding the case, but he has the highest power of all to stop the political imprisonment of Tommy Robinson, and he has not done so. Why is that? I wonder. Is it because Keir the traitor Starmer has something to hide, I wonder? I mean, can any of us really be surprised at this point? After all, Keir the traitor Starmer has about as much personality as a dead hedgehog, and all the love of a black widow. But there is some good news, speaking of women, and that is that now trans women will no longer be classed as women, because as we all know, there are only two genders. Mind you, the fact that it had to go to fucking court in the first place is mind-boggling, even to me. I could only find 4 words when the timer started again. Anyway, it shouldn't have taken the High Court to tell us the obvious, to tell us what we basically already know. But of course, liberal lefties don't want anything to do with it. And that is, the only sex that you are that matters is the one that's on your bloody birth certificate. Now I know I am biologically a male, but technically I could pass as both. After all, I've got a banging set of tits here, let me tell you. But jokes aside, jokes aside, the truth is I will always only be a male with female characteristics, but I am a male all the same. Who said call your husband? Shut up. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, this is at least a victory for common sense. No longer do we have to listen to the liberal lefties complain about, oh, but a woman with a beard and a penis is a woman. What's next? A man with a and a beard is a woman. Like, what? No! So at least there's some piece of good news that'll help us carry through the shitstorm. But as far as Tommy Robinson is concerned, as I said, he's a man who shouldn't be in jail, or at least should be released by now. I mean, think about it. We've had killers, we've had surprise sex people, we have had, PDF files, we've had terrorists, we have all sorts who have basically broken the law. We have had people in the Southport riots who have been given reductions in their sentences. And I would argue that they've done far more than what civil offender Tommy Robinson has done. However, they all get 60% reduced sentences under two-tier Keir the traitor Starmer, while Tommy Robinson has to serve the whole 18 fucking months. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. They will mention Tommy Robinson, but they will not mention the disparity between the criminals and the sentences. And it honestly sickens me to see the number of people who are on that poisonous ground that is known as Twitter, who are saying, oh, Tommy's gotten exactly what he deserves. No, he fucking hasn't. Because normally, people who commit contempt of court don't usually go to jail. They usually face a fine at worst. Maybe a couple of months in jail, not 18 months. So it begs the question, why sentence a man to 18 months in jail for a crime he never committed? And I know there are going to be people who say, oh, but Tommy Robinson pled guilty. Doesn't mean that he actually committed the crime. It just means he's admitting it in front of a court, which effectively means that he will get a reduced sentence for it. However, people will just say, oh, but that's gospel. No, it isn't. Tommy Robinson knows the truth, and he knows he never broke any law, since that film was already out in the public domain. And if people really wanted to, they could have put that silence documentary out on YouTube, just like that. Tommy wouldn't have to raise a finger. And I'm pretty sure there would have been at least a few people who'd be willing to put out that documentary of Silenced up on YouTube because they're supporters of Tommy Robinson. So this whole thing completely reeks of bullshit. The mainstream media, though, and GB News and whoever else, they're all gonna spin a yarn, spew out some more vitriol and absolute bollocks about Tommy Robinson that they know full well isn't true. They're effectively committing libelous slander again. And a lot of these lefties, I don't think they quite understand the perspective that this sets, the precedent this sets. Because what the government is saying is, if you dare to take us on, we're going to take you to the cleaners. We're going to take you to prison. We're going to strip you of your funds. We're going to strip you of your sanity. We're going to strip you of your well-being. Am I wrong? I would love some of these leftoid NPCs to come along and say how I've got it wrong and say, oh, but Tommy Robinson's got exactly what he deserves. I'll tell you what, here's a challenge for you. Why don't you go into the cell with him then? Why don't you send yourself down to prison? 18 months, solitary confinement, nothing but tin tuna. No ability to do anything else other than sit in a box. 18 months. You go in there for 18 months, sit that sentence out, see how you fucking like it. I guarantee you, you'll be crying for lawyers before the first day's even out. Because you're a bunch of fucking hypocrites. And I'm not afraid to say this shit, because I'm not making myself out to be 6'2" and able to take on 5 men in a 5v1 fight. Far from it. I'd be lucky if I was able to take one person on in a fair fight, let alone 5. I'm not claiming to be a tough guy, but what I will say is that there are a lot of leftoids out there who seem to speak a lot of bollocks, but then they don't have the bollocks, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to be able to live up to those standards. I guarantee you, if any of these leftoids went to the same conditions that Tommy Robinson has been, they would be crying for lawyers before the day's out. Just like that. Because they would not want to be treated like this. So how do you think Tommy Robinson feels when he's having his mental well-being and his physical well-being violated under Article 3 of the Human Rights Act? When Keir the traitor Starmer is subjecting him to that torture? When Nicola the monster Marfleet is subjecting him to that torture? I dare some of you to go to that prison. Live the same conditions that he has. Hell, not even for 18 months. Do it for just 1 month. And if you come out in one piece, you tell me how the experience was. You write in. You have my email. Email me. Tell me how the fucking experience was. I guarantee you won't say it was fun. Whether or not Tommy Robinson is a plonker, or whether he is doing things the right way or the wrong way, or whether you're left or right, The one thing that's unequivocal is Tommy Robinson has been grossly mistreated by our two-tier justice and two-tier Keir the traitor Starmer. And I guarantee you, if it was any other person in the dock, if it was any other person who was in that dock instead of Tommy Robinson, they would have released him from jail. Just like that. Because they know how damaging it would be for their narrative. The oligarchy is basically putting every little bit of pressure they can on Tommy Robinson to break him. They don't understand in the establishment. Tommy is made of far greater stuff than most men here in the United Kingdom. I mean, he may not be the strongest man. That title goes to Eddie Hall. But I tell you what, as far as a battle of wills, I think Tommy Robinson would win out against almost every fucking person in this country, quite frankly. And I see it as an absolute disgrace the way he's being treated. But what scares me, I think, more than anything, is the fact that to keep Tommy Robinson safe, they had to clear 25 cells of prisoners in that prison to make sure Tommy was safe. 25. And these aren't the sort of people who, I don't know, they just jaywalk on the side of the road, or they get caught in their local Tesco shoplifting, whatever. No, these are hardened criminals. People who are in for Dial M. People who are in for non-consensual S acts. People who are in for planning to commit acts of T. Those people weren't even moved to a different part of the prison. They were released from prison. Released early. Just so Tommy Robinson could be segregated in one wing and kept in solitary confinement for most of the time he's been in there. And I asked the question, how is that justifiable in any way, shape or form to release 25 of the most dangerous criminals in the United Kingdom out on the streets just so you can house one civil offender who shouldn't even be in a Category B prison, as it's a Category D offence? But that's something, of course, the mainstream media are not going to tell you. But I think that's enough about Tommy Robinson for now. Let's talk about Ben Habib. Some people have been mentioning to me that Ben Habib has set up his own party, and he's named it the Integrity Party. Not my personal choice of what to call a party, as most politicians have about as much integrity as a burning straw house, quite frankly. But it is his decision to do that, and if he wants to name it Integrity, far be it from me to stop him. But I will say this much. I do not agree with his decision to make another party. And I will explain why. Because I don't, unlike the leftoids who will do it for any foam at the mouth excuse, I am saying this because right now we have got an avalanche of parties that are in this UK government and quote-unquote democratic system. We have got so many parties, I can't even count them all. There are people for the religion of peace who made their own parties. There's the Monster Rate Moving Party. There's UKIP. There's the Green Party. There's Plaid Cymru, or whatever the bloody hell the name is. Like, there are so many parties in the country right now, you'd almost think we were all swingers, to be brutally honest. And adding another party to that list is not going to help anyone except the Uni Party. And we all know who the Uni Party is, Lib Lab Con, and as of recently, the Conform Party, the Reform Party. Or maybe I was right first time. But what truly astounds me more than anything is the amount of people who say we don't feel safe from all these illegal immigrants that are in a country, whether it's the so-called groups of men, the beards and all, that like to go around and violate kids. I think you know which ones I mean. Whether it's people just coming along just to be criminal scumbags and do their drugs and whatever, or whether it's just people who are basically intolerant of us. There are people who are voting reform saying, we don't feel safe with these people here. And yet, Nigel El-Faraji has already confirmed that mass deportations are not going to happen. So, knowing this full well, and knowing how he treats the British people by referring to people who support Tommy Robinson as that lot, and how he libelously slandered Rupert Lowe and Tommy Robinson, why on God's earth would you vote Reform? Like, what drugs were you doing when you were thinking of voting Reform? I really would love to know, because I want to get as high as a kite like you lot are. I've mentioned this point many times before, and I'll mention it here again. We have already got 3 John Smiths that are the Uni Party. Conform are merely adding a 4th John Smith into the mix. All you're doing, if you vote Reform, is you're getting another iteration of John Smith. But back to the point with Ben Habib, I personally don't agree with the fact that he's made this pie, first and foremost, because obviously it's another pie. It's going to be like a drop in a giant lake. Like, he's got 2 hopes of being noticed at that point. No Hope and Bob Hope. Now, if he manages to get like 200,000 people behind him in a week or 2 or what have you, then, you know what, I'll change my mind. So, yeah, you know what? He actually has a fighting chance. But until such time, I can't agree with the decision. I think his best bet, and I think Rupert Lowe's best bet, is to go and join UKIP, as that has a very, very strong leader who doesn't take any squit from anyone, who has a huge set of balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to stand up to our career politicians, our treacherous government, and all the leftoid NPCs, and actually call it out for what it is. He is a no-nonsense leader. And if anyone can lead us to victory, it's that guy. Of course, I would say that, though, because I have technically joined UKIP. I'm just hoping to get the membership so I can actually become an MP. Somebody did ask, are you going to consider becoming an MP for the Integrity Party? And honestly, the answer to that is no, because I've already made my decision to join UKIP. Maybe if I hadn't made my decision already, I would slightly consider it, but generally speaking, I would still think that Nick Tanconi is our best hope for this right now. Thank you. Like, honestly, if I believed that Rupert Lowe or Ben Habib were already hopes of the country, believe you me, I'd stand behind them, because I'd want the best for my damn country. However, I cannot say in good faith that Ben Habib is our only hope. Likewise, Rupert Lowe alone cannot do it. I think Rupert Lowe is a good man. I think Rupert Lowe is a very decent man for wanting to do the inquiry into the you-know-whats, basically wanting to make the establishment accountable, make them basically have to put out a national inquiry onto these R gangs, these people that basically have no respect for our society and our cultures, and more importantly, our kids. Because you know what? I don't think our kids should have to grow up in a future where they have to worry about older, bearded men coming along and taking them in the middle of the night or even the middle of the day and basically pass them around to other groups of men to do whatever they wish to them. I don't want that. But it seems Keir the traitor Starmer and his Labour Party do want that. Because why else would they turn down 5 inquiries? But to briefly go back to Ben Habib again, basically, point number 1, there are already too many pies out there. Point number 2, there's not enough people behind him. And number 3, I think it's a bit late as far as the elections are concerned, or at least the local ones. I think he needs to focus more on joining a party that's actually going to make it happen. Maybe later down the line, maybe he can merge with UKIP. Maybe he can actually do something there. But as far as being his own party, I don't think he's got much hope, quite frankly. And this really could split the vote if we have more and more parties out there. God, look at me. Now I'm just like one of the bloody reformers. Yeah, you're going to split the vote. We already have a flood in this country right now, from the illegal immigrants coming over into this country, ready to turn it into a third world shithole. Last thing we need is to add to that flood by having a flood of parties that are basically going to accomplish nothing. We need parties that are big, significant, are for the people, by the people, and don't take shit from anyone. And unfortunately, while Ben Habib might not take any shit from anyone, he isn't big, and he isn't he isn't in the game long enough, in my humble opinion, to make a difference. Whereas UKIP has been around for some time, even if it was under the stroke number one, at the management of Farage for about 8 of those years, 10 of those years, 12 of those years, however many years back. But it's under new leadership now. And Nick Tenconi, I assure you, knows exactly what he's doing. Those 6 missions that he has of putting our core beliefs at the top of it, putting our own people first, deport foreign criminals, deal with radical religion of peace, just to name a few of those missions, he's got a vision. He has got a vision that can make it happen. He knows what he's doing, and he doesn't take shit from anyone. But here's the problem. I've said that UKIP are the party to go to, but here's what it really boils down to. As each day goes by, like each day on a calendar, and you see the calendars whiz by, like in those cartoons when a long period of time is passing, we're in a position where I think the cold bitter truth is, I don't think voting is going to get us out of this one. Like I've said it before, I think we're heading towards a truly dark time in the very near future. I find it sad that good people like Richard Inman still believes that we can do this all peacefully. It's admirable, and it certainly makes him far better than a man that I ever will be, especially considering he served in the forces. However, there comes a time where you need to be positive, then there is a time you need to be realistic. And right now, Richard Inman is not being realistic. He is trying to ask for peace with the Uni Party under Keir the Traitor Starmer when he is about as interested in peace as I am of an all-salad diet. He is not interested in ending this amicably, to end this with handshakes and what have you. The only way this is going to end is when it turns nasty, unfortunately. That's the cold, bitter truth on the matter. I don't want that to be the case. I've said that repeatedly. But the truth does not care about your feelings. The truth does not care about whether you want it to happen or not. The truth cares about the facts in front of you and what is about to happen realistically with cause and effect. Right now, we have a government that's residing over its people and inflicting tyranny upon them. That is effectively ruling them under a regime, almost akin to a certain socialist dictator. Or again, maybe I was right first time. You know the one I'm talking about, the one who waged war over the late 1930s and the early and mid-40s, the one that ended up engaging with Allied forces. I think you know what I mean. I think we're going to end up with a... Thank you. Suspected spam can fuck off. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, there comes a time where, as I said, we have to be realistic. I can see right now, just like back in 1939 through 1945, we saw that socialist dictator who ended up going and heading a certain way. Oh look, it was O2. What a fucking surprise. I tell them not to harass me and these wankers keep calling me. I'll have to deal with that personally. But he went in and he basically did things that the Allied forces advised, if you do that, we're going to... And look what happened. Keir the Traitor Starmer is effectively doing the same thing with us. He is declaring with us. He has declared, alongside the secret recordings that he has and David the Con Man Cameron, that their allegiance lies solely with that so-called religion of peace. They want to focus on replacing old Whitey with the people with the beards, the people who had their hero as Alan Snackbar. Who said I have a boost in my pocket? Shut up, you. Anyway, Alan Snackbar, and of course mentioning something about a profit, and I'm not talking about the money you make on a good deal. And basically that prophet is a guy who thought that it was perfectly okay to have a 7-year-old girl as his, shall we say, lifelong partner. This is what they want, to replace us with degenerate scumbags. And the truth is, this problem ain't going to go away. I would never condone revolution. I would never condone violence or attempt to justify it. However, we have a situation where our country is in real danger from the powers that be completely corrupt and crooked. And we need to do something about it. You know, there was a tweet that was put out by Ann Middleton, you know, the ex-SAS guy, the guy who did that Channel 4 show, I believe it was. Was it Who Dares Wins or something? Anyway, he ended up putting out a little tweet saying the government's thinking about calling the army into Birmingham to remove the trash. And he didn't want that to happen. I disagree with this. And I'll tell you why. And don't fucking stab me in the chest with your pitchforks just yet, because I have a good reason. Anyway, the fact is, they are right. The army does need to come in and take out the trash. But the trash I'm talking about isn't this kind of trash. It is the trash that involves speaking about their hero Alan Snackbar, that likes to go around and get a little stabby, or likes to take girls and pass them around other groups of men, or likes to plough vehicles through people, like a tractor through a cornfield, or a combine harvester, or whatever it is. Driving my combine harvester. Anyway, that's basically the trash we need to be taken care of. So when they say, and I say, we need to take out the trash, obviously I mean it metaphorically, I'm not talking about the stuff in the bins. I'm talking about the people who want to wage a holy against us. The people who are intolerant of us and want to claim J. Seeker's allowance in Anjem Chowdhury's own eyes. You know, the same guy who was coordinating Al-Mahajarun, the group of Terrys that basically there were two brothers who were responsible for the killing of Lee Rigby, ending his free trial of life. And it was such a shame, he was about to upgrade to the premium edition. Anyway, these people were responsible for the death of Lee Rigby, and these are the people who we should be removing from Birmingham. Yes, the amount of trash because of the bin men going on strike is unacceptable. However, I would argue the trash is not the stuff in bags. I would argue the trash is the cult, if you will. The religion of peace that isn't peaceful and is basically looking to play the victim every time they get called out. That are wanting to wage against us. There's your real trash. And I think our army should be perfectly entitled to take out said trash. So Ann Middleton, I appreciate what you're trying to say, but I have to say you're wrong on this one, buddy. It's not often a common citizen has to correct, shall we say. I don't want to say put down, because that sounds like I'm beating the shit out of him, when I would have about as much hope of that as losing weight on a 1-week all-salad diet, because I'd never eat the fucking stuff. But Ann Middleton is a good man. I just think he's got this one a little bit wrong. He's misinterpreted it. Stroke number 2. Misinterpreted it. Oh, God. Thank God I didn't put the other video up, because that one I actually had 4 strokes, and that was actually in 8 minutes. So, yeah, I'm doing my best to control myself, but obviously I can't quite stop all of them. But he has definitely got this slightly misinterpreted, and I think that the army should go in to take out the trash. And once we get rid of the Allen snack bars in Birmingham, maybe we should sweep this across the country and get rid of all the Allen snack bars who preach the extremist side of their religion. Because quite frankly, we should have no tolerance for groups of people that are intolerant of us. Last time I checked, this country is called Britain. Not Pakistan, not India, not Afghanistan, not Eritrea, not fucking Baghdad. England. And if these people want to live like those other countries, which most of them are predominantly run by that religion, they're more than welcome to board a plane or a boat, or I'll even give them a fucking jetpack, and they can fuck off back to their own countries, quite frankly. Because at the end of the day, I don't want this country to have its kids violated by groups of men like them who believe in their 5th century cult of death. The bottom line is this is our country. We must put our people first. And unfortunately, I do think that we are headed towards very dark times where we are going to see battles up ahead. I think we're going to see battles much akin to like the Roses, or the Battle of Hastings, or the Battle of the Bulge, or the Battle of Britain. We're going to see that, unfortunately. Though this time, thankfully, it's on a much smaller scale, as it's the indigenous people against a 2-tier government, 2-tier police, and 2-tier justice, and a crooked media. I don't want it, but it's a necessary evil at this point. We have to do what we can to protect ourselves from enemies that threaten our national security. That is the job of Keir the Traitor Starmer, not the subjects underneath Keir the Traitor Starmer. And if he is not willing to protect his people, then we will come along, kick him out of power and the whole of the Labour Party, and we will have people in power who can run this country, who do put their own people first, and are going to tell the people who are intolerant of us, wise up or fuck off. Because at the end of the day, if you don't like our country, you know where the door is. Let it hit you on the way out.